it's very exciting to be here, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity of sharing with you some thoughts about a project that's just beginning. It has to do with understanding judicial activism in Latin America. Before I start, I would say that there are great expectations throughout Latin America about the rule of law. After authoritarian regimes gave way to mostly democratic regimes in the 90s, one of the big issues for us was, what about the law? What about the rule of law? And there are great expectations about this. And what I'm going to talk about is how urban research can contribute to the understanding of what's happening. Because courts are being empowered, many discussions are centering on how courts are dealing with conflicts, and I think we have to be very cautious about what's happening there. And the main question in my presentation would be that we have to look attentively at what is it exactly that's happening, what kind of social effects it may have. So my idea today is to give you some landmark cases, some important cases that must be used as red lights, as indications of what sort of things are we seeing. Then I'll take a quick glance to the state of the art in the literature, because we have to open our minds to different disciplines and different approaches to how courts are studied throughout the social sciences. Then I indulge in some speculations about what are the real impacts of what's happening in Latin American cities, and then back to the need of building solid ground to do research that produces usable important knowledge. And I will end up by reflecting about the contrast between what is at stake in urban conflict and how the law deals with it. And I think this is going to be the clue of what I'm going to be doing in the following years. So this is a combination of findings, of things that we know for certain that are happening in Latin America, and reflections on how to embark on a more ambitious research project in the region. I must say that in last July, the Lincoln supported a meeting we had in Buenos Aires, in which we created a network of researchers, in which we have 4 countries with a dozen of researchers committed to think together about all these issues. Well, let's begin with the Matanza Riachuelo. This is one of the largest rivers that crosses throughout Buenos Aires, a highly polluted river. Probably this is the worst river pollution in the continent, and that had been waiting for years for action to be done, until the Supreme Court in 2006 ordered the government to do something and appointed a judge to follow the actions of the government. You have like 17,000 people who would have to be removed from the riverbanks, and very complex and huge environmental problems. The thing is, the Supreme Court makes this decision and empowers a judge to follow what government is doing. A judge that became actually like a governor of the whole basin of the area. He conducts, he directs government to do this or that, and there are 2 secretaries of the environment at the city of Buenos Aires who have already resigned because they are not following the indication of the judge. People wonder about to what extent a judge should be acting as governor of an area. The second case is Quito. The authorities, planning authorities, decide that this can be a nice area for a metropolitan park. This had never been urbanized. They put this in the master plan as a metropolitan park. They expropriate the park, and the owners challenge this decision. They litigate for 8 9 years until they reach the Inter-American Court of Human Rights that condemns the Ecuadorian government for failing to give justice in this matter, when it was the owner that was challenging all the time, because the owners want a very high compensation, considering that they would be able to build a high income neighborhood with a nice view. And the government kept saying, but this was never an urban land. You deserve compensation for a rural land, and you're demanding for urban land. Well, the court did not what to do, and they just averaged what the owners want and what the city government wanted to pay. Let's say they wanted like $80 million. Government said the land was worth $6 million. The court awarded $25 million. And of course, some of the judges who are in the minority wrote dissents saying, listen, we're crazy, we don't even know what we're doing, we don't even understand how to reach a sensible figure. And the bottom line of this is one of the justices says, this is the highest compensation that we as a court have awarded in our history for a violation of human rights. So a court that was created to deal with the crimes of dictatorships ends up awarding its highest compensation for a landowner who wanted to capture the rents that he never produced. But this is a red light. That at the highest level of our constitutional inter-American system, the court doesn't know what they're doing. This is a concern. Well, the good news is Bogota. This is a very good example of how the high courts in Colombia are dealing in a very intelligent way with urban conflicts. The Transmilenio is the system of transport that has gained a lot of legitimacy as one way of regaining public space in the city. It has a lot of great social support, but its building means expropriating land from poor people in poor neighborhoods and expelling people. So the court did recognize that it was not the same thing being a landowner who doesn't use the land than being a person who owns a house where they live. So they are making these nuances, they're making these distinctions, and they're really understanding what urban differences are about. So this is some good news. There are out there some unlike courts that know what are doing. At the other extreme, we have a very important case in Mexico City, which is called El Encino, a plot of land that is located in the western part of Mexico, what they call the global Mexico City, Santa Fe, that has developed in the last 20 years as the most affluent area. And there was this piece of land, sorry about 15 acres, that was in the way of the main road system of the area. You can see this is the main road. It goes this way, and it's like a circuit. Here it's the most important hospital, private hospital in that zone of the city. There are other developments, and this was a private land. The government expropriated this piece and this piece, like taking like 10% of the plot away from the owner in order to complete the street. It was as obvious as this. But the owner challenged this in court. A federal judge finds that there's no justification for such an expropriation, grants an injunction. There are allegations that the government didn't obey the judge immediately. And this escalated into a conflict that led to the impeachment of the city mayor. This was the first big constitutional conflict in modern democratic Mexico, where people from different parties were using a legal case to attack each other.